I'm Samantha Cooper, 29 years old, and I was just days away from my milestone 30th birthday bash at the Harborview Hotel. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, a video link. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen, before curiosity won. What I saw shattered everything. My husband Tyler secretly meeting my sister Jessica, their intimate gestures unmistakable. My hands shaking, I canceled everything immediately. What they didn't know was that canceling my party was just the beginning. Before I dive into this nightmare, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had that gut feeling something wasn't right in your relationship. Trust me, this story might just save you from what I went through. From the outside looking in, my life in Boston had all the markers of success. I worked as a senior marketing executive at a growing tech company, lived in a beautifully renovated brownstone in Beacon Hill, and was celebrating 5 years of marriage to Tyler, a financial advisor with one of the city's prestigious firms. Our Instagram was a highlight reel of weekend getaways to Cape Cod, anniversary dinners at exclusive restaurants, and holiday gatherings with my picture-perfect family. My relationship with my family had always seemed strong, especially with my sister Jessica. Only 18 months apart, we grew up sharing clothes, secrets, and occasionally boyfriends, though never seriously until Tyler. Jessica had actually introduced us at a charity gala her art gallery had hosted. She'd been dating him casually but claimed there was no chemistry. When Tyler and I hit it off instantly, she seemed genuinely happy for us. At least that's what I believed for years. "You two are perfect together," she'd said at our engagement party. Champagne glass raised high. "I always knew Tyler needed someone stable and ambitious like you, Sam." Looking back, I should have recognized the backhanded compliment hidden in her toast. Jessica had always been the creative, free-spirited favorite child while I was the responsible one. Our father, Richard Cooper Sr., had built his real estate development company from nothing, and he valued Jessica's artistic sensibilities for marketing properties, but relied on my business acumen when it came to actual decisions. My mother, Caroline, was the perfect corporate wife who managed our family's social calendar and community presence with military precision. The first signs of trouble with Tyler started subtly about 8 months before my birthday. Late nights at the office became more frequent. His phone would be placed face down whenever I entered a room. He started taking calls in another room, voice hushed. When I'd question him, he'd brush it off with reasonable explanations about client confidentiality or surprise birthday plans. "Don't worry so much, Sam," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "You know how Q4 gets. And besides, I've got some birthday surprises in the works." I believed him because I wanted to, because the alternative was unthinkable, because we had history, shared dreams, a mortgage, and plans to start trying for a baby after my 30th birthday. My birthday plans had grown increasingly elaborate over 6 months of planning. The Harborview Hotel had a 3-month waiting list for their waterfront ballroom, but I'd secured it through a client connection. The guest list included 75 of our closest friends and family. I'd hired a renowned local chef to create a custom menu featuring elevated versions of my favorite childhood dishes. My parents had contributed a significant amount to the celebration, unusual for my father, who typically criticized frivolous expenditures. "30 is a milestone, Samantha," he'd said when offering the money. "It's time to celebrate what you've accomplished and set intentions for the next phase of life." The first real red flag appeared 3 weeks before the party. Both Tyler and Jessica claimed they couldn't help with the final arrangements on the same weekend. Tyler had a client emergency in New York. Jessica had a gallery situation requiring her immediate attention. When I suggested they might travel together to save money, both reacted with unusual defensiveness. "That's ridiculous, Sam," Jessica had snapped. "I'm taking the train anyway, and we're going to completely different parts of the city." "Why would you even suggest that?" Tyler had asked, his voice strained. "Do you not trust me to handle a client meeting on my own?" Their reaction seemed disproportionate, but I chalked it up to pre-party stress. I threw myself into finalizing details, selecting the perfect outfit, a custom-designed midnight blue gown that had cost more than was reasonable, and preparing my welcome speech. all while ignoring the growing knot of anxiety that had taken up permanent residence in my stomach. Everything will be perfect, I kept telling myself, organizing seating charts late into the night. This is going to be the celebration of a lifetime. I had no idea how right I was, just not in the way I'd imagined. The morning the video arrived, I was reviewing final confirmation emails from vendors. 3 days before my birthday, the countdown was officially on. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, displaying only a video link and the message, "You deserve to know before your big day." I almost deleted it as spam. Almost. The video was grainy, but clear enough. Security camera footage from what appeared to be a hotel lobby. The timestamp showed it was from the previous weekend when both Tyler and Jessica were supposedly in separate parts of New York. They entered the frame together, his arm around her waist, her head leaning against his shoulder. They stopped by the elevator, and while waiting, Tyler brushed Jessica's hair back and kissed her not a familial peck on the cheek, but deeply, intimately. She responded by wrapping her arms around his neck. When the elevator arrived, they entered it wrapped in each other's arms, Tyler's hand sliding down to rest on her lower back in a gesture of unmistakable possessiveness. I watched it 7 times. With each viewing, memories resurfaced. Jessica asking detailed questions about when Tyler would be home, Tyler's unexplained weekend trips that aligned perfectly with Jessica's gallery showings in other cities, the way they'd sometimes fall silent when I entered a room, Jessica's increasingly expensive lifestyle despite her gallery barely breaking even. 2 Valentine's Days ago, I'd received a gold bracelet from Tyler with a custom charm. "It reminded me of your spirit," he'd said. Just last month, I'd noticed Jessica wearing an identical bracelet. When I commented on it, she'd quickly covered it, saying, "Oh, this old thing? I've had it forever." With shaking hands, I called Tyler, who was supposedly at a morning meeting. He answered on the first ring. "I saw the video," I said without preamble. A beat of silence. "What video?" "You and Jessica. At the Hotel Marquis in New York. Last weekend." His response came too quickly, too smoothly. "Sam, I don't know what you're talking about. What video? From who? This sounds like some kind of weird prank." "Don't lie to me, Tyler. I saw you kissing her by the elevator. I saw everything." "That's ridiculous," he sputtered, voice rising an octave. "Someone must have doctored something to mess with you. You know how good people are with that deep fake technology now. Who sent this to you? Some jealous coworker?" When I remained silent, his tone changed to concerned husband. "Honey, you're stressed about the party. You're imagining things. We'll look at this video together when I get home, and I'll prove it's not what you think." I hung up and immediately called Jessica. She answered breathlessly, as if she'd been running, or as if she'd just been warned by Tyler. "Hey sis, just finishing up a yoga class. What's up?" "I know about you and Tyler," I said flatly. Unlike Tyler, Jessica didn't immediately deny it. Instead, she paused before saying carefully, "Sam, whatever you think is happening isn't the full picture. We need to talk in person." "So you're admitting it?" "I'm saying it's complicated and, how long?" Another pause. "Sam, how long, Jessica?" She sighed. "On and off since before your wedding. But it wasn't serious until..." I hung up, my entire body numb. Before my wedding. Before my wedding. The phrase echoed in my mind as I robotically opened my laptop and drafted a message to all 75 guests. Due to an unexpected family emergency, the birthday celebration for Samantha Cooper on Saturday, May 15th has been canceled. We appreciate your understanding during this difficult time. My phone immediately began ringing my mother, then my father, then Megan, my best friend. I ignored them all and methodically began calling vendors to cancel arrangements, citing a family emergency. Some were understanding. Others reminded me of non-refundable deposits. I didn't care about the money. When Tyler arrived home that evening, I was sitting in our dark living room, the video playing on loop on my laptop. He tried once more to deny it, claiming the video was manipulated, that I was overreacting. When I remained unmoved, he switched tactics. "Fine. It happened. But it was a mistake, a one-time thing. We were both stressed and had too much to drink. It meant nothing. The timestamp on the video matches 6 other weekends you were supposedly working, I said, my voice eerily calm. And Jessica said, it's been going on since before our wedding. Tyler's face drained of color. She's lying. She's always been jealous of you, Sam. She's trying to hurt you. I want you out of this house tonight. Don't be dramatic. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Jessica's place, perhaps? Since you've clearly been there before. He left with an overnight bag, still protesting that I was blowing everything out of proportion. The next morning, I discovered he'd made a significant withdrawal from our joint account and had been using our shared credit card to buy expensive gifts, including a $3,200 necklace from Tiffany 2 months earlier. Jessica had worn a new necklace to Easter dinner. I'd complimented her on it. She'd smiled and said, thanks, it was a gift from someone special. The someone special had been my husband. The day after discovering the betrayal, I received a terse text from my father. Family meeting. Our house. 7 p.m. Non-negotiable. I arrived to find everyone already there. My parents, Jessica, and Tyler, all seated in the formal living room like a tribunal. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed, but whether from crying or anger, I couldn't tell. My father sat rigid in his leather chair, CEO posture in full effect. This has gone far enough, he began without preamble. Canceling your birthday celebration was childish and embarrassing. Do you have any idea how many calls I've received? I stared at him in disbelief. My husband and sister have been having an affair for years, and you're worried about party cancellations? Don't be melodramatic, Samantha, my mother cut in. What Jessica and Tyler have is complicated. But calling it an affair is overstating things. Jessica sat with her hands folded, staring at the carpet. Tyler looked anywhere but at me. They were at a hotel together, I said, pulling up the video on my phone. Look at this and tell me it's not an affair. My father waved away the phone without looking. I don't need to see whatever doctored nonsense you found on the internet. It's not doctored, it's security footage. Even if something inappropriate happened, my mother interjected smoothly. Family comes first. We don't air our dirty laundry in public. The party can still happen, we'll just position it as a general family celebration. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you seriously suggesting I celebrate my birthday with the 2 people who betrayed me? My father's face hardened. What we're suggesting is that you act like an adult instead of a spurned teenager. This family has a reputation to maintain. A reputation? That's what you're worried about? The Cooper name means something in this city, he continued as if I hadn't spoken. Your grandfather built that reputation. I've maintained it, and I won't have you damaging it with scandal and gossip. I'm not the one causing a scandal, I shouted, losing my composure entirely. They are. I pointed at Tyler and Jessica, who still wouldn't meet my eyes. You've always been jealous of your sister, my father said, his voice dangerously quiet. Ever since you were children. Jessica is sensitive and creative. She follows her heart. You've always been cold and calculating just like me. The brutal assessment hung in the air. My mother made a small noise of protest but didn't contradict him. So that's it? I asked, voice trembling. Jessica follows her heart right into my marriage, and I'm supposed to smile and pretend it's fine because she's the favorite? No one said anything about favorites. My mother objected weakly. You didn't have to, I replied. It's been obvious my entire life. The doorbell rang, interrupting the standoff. My mother disappeared to answer it, and returned with my Uncle Richard, my father's younger brother and the black sheep of the family, who had declined to join the family business to become an architect instead. Richard, my father said stiffly, this is a private family matter. I'm family, Uncle Richard replied easily, taking a seat beside me on the sofa. And it sounds like Samantha could use someone in her corner. For the first time, Jessica spoke up. Sam, you need to understand. Tyler and I tried to fight our feelings. We really did. But we have this connection that's just— Save it, Uncle Richard interrupted. The girl's husband is cheating with her sister, and you're all acting like she's the problem? Richard, what the hell kind of family meeting is this? My father's face reddened. Stay out of this, Rick. You've never understood how this family works." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Uncle Richard countered. "Samantha asks too many questions, works too hard, and doesn't blindly worship at the altar of Cooper family legacy. And Jessica here has always been your little princess who can do no wrong even when she's sleeping with her sister's husband." Jessica gasped indignantly, but Uncle Richard wasn't finished. "Tell me, Samantha, have you looked into the family finances recently? Your grandmother's inheritance that was supposed to come to you at 30? My father stood up abruptly. "That's enough. This meeting is about resolving the birthday situation, not dredging up ancient history." But his reaction had confirmed something was wrong. "What about my inheritance?" I asked. Uncle Richard's expression was grim. "Your grandmother left you controlling interest in Cooper Development's original properties. Richard here was supposed to be managing that trust until your 30th birthday, which is conveniently in 3 days." The room went deadly silent. My father's expression confirmed everything. "You used my inheritance to fund the business," I said slowly, "the pieces falling into place. And now you can't pay me what's owed." "The investments were made for your benefit," my father replied stiffly. "The paperwork is complicated." Uncle Richard scoffed. "The paperwork is fraudulent, and you know it." A horrible thought struck me. Does Tyler know about this? I turned to my husband, whose guilty expression answered before his words did. "I was trying to help fix it," he said weakly. "Your father needed someone with financial expertise who could restructure things before your birthday. So what you thought seducing Jessica would keep you in the family even if I found out?" Jessica flinched. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I demanded. "We fell in love," she whispered. "And then Dad needed Tyler's help with the business situation, and it just made sense for us all to work together." "All of you?" I looked from face to face. "This whole time, you've all been conspiring behind my back? About my inheritance and my marriage?" "Now you're being paranoid," my mother said, but her eyes darted nervously to my father. The final confirmation came when my father spoke. "Samantha, if you proceed with this vindictive crusade, we will have no choice but to cut you off completely. No inheritance, no family connections, no financial support. Is that really what you want?" It was the first direct threat, the first attempt to sabotage me into submission. Looking at their faces, calculating, concerned, contemptuous, I realized this family meeting wasn't about resolution. It was about control. I stood up. "I think we're done here." "Samantha," my father started. "No, we're done. And so are all of you." I walked toward the door, Uncle Richard following closely behind. As we reached his car, he placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry, kiddo. I should have told you sooner what was happening." "Why didn't you?" He sighed heavily. "I only confirmed my suspicions last month. Richard has been keeping me at arm's length for years. But when I heard about your elaborate birthday plans coinciding with your inheritance date, I knew something was wrong." "What do I do now?" I asked, suddenly feeling very small and overwhelmed. "Now," he said firmly, "we fight back. First things first," Uncle Richard said as we sat in his downtown loft the next morning. "We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Megan, my best friend since college, nodded vigorously. She'd arrived at my house last night with ice cream, vodka, and righteous indignation after I'd finally answered her frantic calls. "I can't believe they're all in on it," she said, pacing the hardwood floors. "Your entire family. And Tyler, what an absolute garbage human." "We need a strategic approach," Uncle Richard continued, ever the methodical architect, financial, legal, and personal battlefronts. I felt numb, operating on autopilot. "Where do we even start?" "With what they don't know you know," he replied. "Tyler's been embezzling from your personal accounts, hasn't he?" The question startled me. "What?" "No, I don't think." "Check your accounts," Megan urged. "All of them." 20 minutes and several banking apps later, I sat in stunned silence. Small transfers never enough to trigger alerts had been moving from my personal savings to a joint account I didn't recognize for over a year. Nearly $47,000 in total. "That's just what we can see," Uncle Richard pointed out. "There could be offshore accounts, investments in Jessica's name." "I need a lawyer," I whispered. "Already ahead of you." Uncle Richard said, pulling out his phone. Alicia Bennett, best divorce attorney in Massachusetts. She's expecting your call. While I spoke with Alicia, Megan and Uncle Richard created a battle plan. We needed evidence, concrete, indisputable documentation of the financial fraud and personal betrayal. Alicia recommended we gather bank statements, property deeds, tax returns, emails, text messages, anything that could establish a pattern. What about the video? I asked Alicia. Helpful but not sufficient, she replied. Massachusetts is a no-fault divorce state. But the embezzlement and fraud, those are criminal matters. We need more. Megan's brother Ryan, an IT security specialist, arrived that afternoon to help recover deleted messages and secure my devices against spying. Change all your passwords, he advised. Use two-factor authentication. Assume they're watching everything. By evening, Tyler texted that he was coming home to talk things through. Uncle Richard and Megan exchanged meaningful glances. This is an opportunity, Megan said carefully. Uncle Richard nodded. They don't know what you know. Use that. When Tyler arrived, he was all contrition and charm, the same qualities that had made me fall in love with him years ago. He brought flowers, lilies, my favorite, and spoke of mistakes and forgiveness. I've ended things with Jessica completely, he claimed, eyes downcast in practiced remorse. It was never serious. Just a stupid mistake that got out of hand. For 5 years? I asked quietly. He flinched but recovered quickly. It wasn't continuous. Just moments of weakness. The point is, it's over now. I choose you, Sam. I've always chosen you. Every word was a lie, but I forced my face into an expression of cautious hope. I don't know, Tyler. So much has happened. I know, he said, moving closer. But think about what we've built together. This house, our life, your family business connections that have helped my career. We're a team, Sam. And there it was the real reason for his return. Not love, but access to my family's money and connections. I need time to think, I said, injecting uncertainty into my voice. Maybe we could start with dinner? A small step? His relief was palpable. Of course. Whatever you need. How about I plan something special for your birthday? Just the two of us? I nodded, playing the role of conflicted wife considering forgiveness. That might be nice. After he left to give me space to process, I called Megan. He took the bait. Of course he did, she scoffed. Men like Tyler can't imagine a world where they don't get what they want. The next day, while Tyler was at work, Ryan helped me install small recording devices in our home office and bedroom places where Tyler might speak freely on the phone. I felt slightly sick about the deception, but as Uncle Richard reminded me, they've been deceiving you for years. Fair is fair. Later that afternoon, I discovered Tyler had attempted to transfer our house deed into his name, only claiming it was a paperwork error when the bank called me for verification. The second sabotage attempt had failed, but only because I'd been warned to watch for it. That night, I secured all important documents and irreplaceable items, my grandmother's jewelry, my passport, external hard drives with years of photos in a safe deposit box only I could access. I transferred half of our joint accounts into my private account, leaving detailed records of the transactions for the inevitable legal battle ahead. Remember, Uncle Richard counseled as we reviewed our progress, they think you're emotional and reckless. Your controlled response will throw them off balance. What if they're right? I asked in a moment of doubt. What if I am overreacting? Megan grabbed my hands fiercely. Sam, they stole your inheritance, your husband, and your dignity. They gaslit you and conspired against you. This isn't an overreaction, it's justice. For the first time since receiving that video, I felt something other than numbness and shock. A slow-burning anger? Yes. But also something more powerful, determination. Tomorrow, I said, straightening my shoulders, we go on the offensive. Tyler's campaign to win me back escalated with military precision. He arrived home the next day with an enormous bouquet of roses, a small blue Tiffany box containing diamond earrings, and a handwritten letter expressing his profound remorse and eternal devotion. The performance was impressive, tears welling in his eyes at precisely the right moments, voice cracking with emotion as he promised to spend the rest of his life making it up to me. "I've been a fool, Sam," he said, kneeling before me in our living room right where one of the recording devices was hidden. "I got caught up in something destructive, but it meant nothing compared to what we have." I forced myself to place a hesitant hand on his cheek, suppressing the revulsion that threatened to give me away. "I want to believe you, Tyler. I really do." "Then believe me," he pleaded, turning to kiss my palm. "Let me prove it to you. Starting with a special birthday dinner tomorrow night. I've already made reservations at Maison Laurent. My actual birthday." The irony wasn't lost on me. "What about Jessica? My parents?" "I've spoken to your father," Tyler said carefully. "He agrees we should have some time alone to work through this. He sends his love and hopes you'll come around about the family situation too." I bet he does, I thought, but said aloud, "That's thoughtful of him." "So is that a yes to dinner?" Tyler asked hopefully. I nodded, giving him a small, uncertain smile. "Yes. I think we need to talk more." His relief was palpable. "Thank you, Sam. You won't regret this. I promise." The moment he left for work the next morning, I called Alicia with an update. "He's planning something. This reconciliation is too smooth, too choreographed." "Agreed," she replied. "Have Ryan check if your father's company has any major financial movements scheduled around now. The timing with your birthday can't be coincidental." Ryan's research proved illuminating. Cooper Development was finalizing paperwork for a massive refinancing deal, using properties that were technically part of my inheritance as collateral. The paperwork required my signature as the technical beneficiary of my grandmother's trust. "They need you to sign over your rights," Uncle Richard explained grimly. "That's why they're pushing for reconciliation before your actual birthday." "But they've had years to fix this," I argued. "Why wait until now?" "Because the company's in trouble," Ryan said, showing me financial records he'd uncovered. "They've been operating at a loss for 2 years. Your dad's been hiding it with creative accounting, but they're on the verge of bankruptcy unless they secure this new financing." The pieces clicked into place. The extravagant birthday party my father had insisted on funding, the sudden push for family unity, the convenient timing of Tyler's contrition. They were going to have me sign the papers at my own birthday party, I realized. Probably after a few drinks, surrounded by guests, with no time to read the fine print. Classic high-pressure tactic, Uncle Richard agreed. Richard always did prefer to close deals in social settings. That evening, I prepared for my reconciliation birthday dinner with methodical care. I wore the midnight blue dress I'd bought for my now-canceled party, did my makeup flawlessly, and even put on the new diamond earrings, all of it calculated to put Tyler at ease, to make him believe his plan was working. Maison Laurent was as exclusive and romantic as its reputation suggested. Candlelight, soft jazz, impeccable service. Tyler had reserved a private alcove and ordered champagne in advance. He stood when I arrived, eyes widening appreciatively at my appearance. "You look stunning," he said, pulling out my chair. "Thank you," I replied, smiling demurely. "It seems a shame to waste the dress." Throughout dinner, Tyler was the perfect attentive husband, reminiscing about our early days together, making future plans, carefully avoiding any mention of Jessica or my family's financial situation. When dessert arrived, a chocolate soufflé with "Happy Birthday, Samantha" written in gold leaf, he reached across the table to take my hand. "I have something important to ask you," he began. "Here it comes," I thought. "Your father is hosting a small family gathering on Sunday. Just immediate family, your parents, Jessica, us. He wants to clear the air and start fresh. Will you come?" I hesitated, playing my part. "I don't know, Tyler. Seeing Jessica so soon." "I understand," he said quickly. "It's difficult. But your father has some important business matters to discuss as well, something about finalizing your grandmother's inheritance now that you're 30. He says it's time you took a more active role in the family business." Bingo. I forced my expression to shift from reluctance to cautious interest. "Really? That's unexpected." "He realizes he's been keeping you at arm's length," Tyler continued smoothly. "This whole situation has made him reassess his priorities. Family first, right?" "Family first," I echoed, raising my champagne glass in a toast. Tyler beamed, clearly believing he'd succeeded. To new beginnings. We clinked glasses, and I took a sip while planning his downfall. The next morning, I received a text from Jessica. Dad says you're coming Sunday. Thank you. We need to talk privately before then. Coffee tomorrow? I showed the message to Megan, who had stayed overnight at my house in case Tyler tried to push his reconciliation beyond dinner. It's a trap, she said immediately. She's going to try to manipulate you before the family meeting. I know, I replied. Which is exactly why I'm going. Uncle Richard was concerned when I told him my plan. They're closing ranks, Samantha. Jessica might be sent to extract information about what you know. Let her try, I said with newfound confidence. I've learned from the best manipulators in the business. Meeting Jessica at a quiet cafe downtown felt surreal. My sister, my once trusted confidant, and now my betrayer sat nervously adjusting her scarf. The same scarf I'd given her for Christmas last year. Thank you for coming, she began, voice soft and repentant. I wasn't sure you would. Tyler seems convinced we can all move past this, I said neutrally. I'm willing to listen. Sam, I need you to know that Tyler and I never meant to hurt you. I raised an eyebrow but remained silent. It just happened, she continued, eyes downcast. We tried to fight it, but there was always this connection between us. Since before my wedding, I supplied. She winced. Yes? But we ended it when you got engaged. We really did. It only started again about 2 years ago when Dad's company started having financial problems. Jessica's head snapped up, genuine surprise in her eyes. How did you know about that? I shrugged noncommittally. I'm not as oblivious as you all seem to think. It's been a difficult time for the family, she said carefully. Dad's been under tremendous pressure. And that justifies you sleeping with my husband? Of course not, she exclaimed. That's separate from the business issues. Though Tyler has been incredibly helpful to Dad during this crisis. I'm sure he has, I replied dryly. What exactly is happening on Sunday? Jessica relaxed slightly, believing we were moving to safer ground. Just some paperwork to sort out your inheritance. Dad has restructured things to protect the family assets. There's a big refinancing deal that needs your signature. And if I don't sign? Her expression tightened. The company could face serious problems. Dad might lose everything he's built. Our family legacy would be at risk. All because of my signature? Your grandmother's trust was set up. Unusually. You technically control key properties that Dad's been managing. It's complicated. So I've heard. We parted with tense smiles and promises to see each other Sunday. As soon as she left, I texted Uncle Richard. Confirmed. They need my signature for the refinancing. His reply was immediate. Alicia says don't sign anything. Not even a birthday card. That night, Tyler tried to continue our reconciliation with a romantic evening at home. The performance was almost admirable in its thoroughness: candles, music, his signature pasta dish that he knew I loved. While he showered afterward, I noticed his phone light up with a text from Jessica. Did she agree to Sunday? His response, typed while I pretended to be getting ready for bed. Yes. All going according to plan. Dad will be relieved. Later, when Tyler thought I was asleep, I heard him on the phone in our home office, unaware of the recording device capturing every word. It's handled, he was saying quietly. She's completely in the dark about the extent of it. No, she doesn't suspect anything about the offshore accounts. Yes. I'll make sure she signs on Sunday. Don't worry, Richard. Your daughter is as gullible as ever when it comes to me. Each word was another nail in the coffin of my marriage. Another piece of evidence for the case we were building. Their third sabotage attempt, using my own birthday and the guise of reconciliation to trick me into signing away my inheritance, was about to backfire spectacularly. The day before the family meeting, I received an unexpected text from Megan. Need to talk. Urgent. Coming over now. She arrived looking uncharacteristically nervous, fidgeting with her car keys as she sat across from me at my kitchen island. Jessica called me. She blurted out. I stared at her. What? Why would she call you? Megan wouldn't meet my eyes. We've kept in touch occasionally over the years. Professional networking stuff. Mostly. And you never thought to mention this? It never seemed important, she defended, then sighed. Until now. A chill ran through me. What did she want? She offered me a job, Megan said quietly. Marketing director for Cooper Development, starting immediately. Twice my current salary, plus equity. The implications were clear. They're trying to isolate me, turn my best friend against me. Sam, I would never. Did you accept? I interrupted, studying her face carefully. Megan hesitated just a fraction too long. Of course not. I told her I'd think about it. In that moment, I knew. Megan, my best friend since college, my confidant through breakups and career crises, the person who'd brought me ice cream and vodka just days ago had already decided to take the job. You've already accepted, I said flatly. Haven't you? It's not what you think, she protested weakly. I could be your inside person. Find out what they're really planning. While collecting a paycheck from my father? How convenient. Sam, this isn't personal. It's a career opportunity I can't pass up. I laughed bitterly. That's exactly what Tyler said about working with my father. Right before I discovered he was sleeping with my sister. Megan flushed. That's not fair. I'm not betraying you. Then tell my father no. Her silence was answer enough. You should leave, I said quietly. Sam, please? Now, Megan. After she left, I called Uncle Richard, fighting back tears. Megan's out. They got to her. I'm sorry, kiddo, he said gently. This is how your father operates. Identifies weaknesses and exploits them. I trusted her, I whispered. I know. But we still have Ryan on our side. And Alicia. And me. You're not alone. That night, Tyler became increasingly affectionate, clearly building up to something. As we prepared for bed, he wrapped his arms around me from behind, nuzzling my neck. I'm so glad we're working through this, he murmured. I was afraid I'd lost you. I forced myself to lean back against him, playing my role. I'm trying, Tyler. It's still hard. I know, baby. I know. His hands wandered suggestively. But I've missed you. Let me show you how much. Later, in the darkness, believing I was asleep beside him, Tyler made another late-night call. This one was to Jessica. Everything set for tomorrow. Yeah, she suspects nothing. The contracts are ready. No, Richard, she won't read them carefully. I'll make sure of it. The transfer can happen as soon as she signs. Yes, I'll still get my percentage. No, she doesn't know about us planning to move in together after this is settled. I lay perfectly still, recording every word, as Tyler unwittingly confessed to the entire conspiracy. When he finally fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and sent the recording to Alicia and Uncle Richard, adding, We have everything we need. The next morning, the day of the family meeting, Jessica showed up unannounced at my door. Tyler had left early to help set things up at my parents' house. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into the foyer. The meeting's not until this afternoon, I replied, keeping my distance. This can't wait, Jessica insisted, her expression uncharacteristically agitated. I've been thinking about everything. And you've had a sudden attack of conscience? I interrupted skeptically. You don't understand the position I'm in, she snapped. Dad's company is everything to him. It's our family legacy. And that justifies betraying me? Stealing my inheritance? Sleeping with my husband? It's complicated, she shouted, losing her composure. Tyler and I love each other. We always have. He only married you because Dad made it clear he'd never accept anyone else for his eldest daughter. It was always about the business connections, the prestige of being a Cooper son-in-law. The admission, though expected, still stung. So all of this, our entire relationship, was a business arrangement? Not at first, Jessica backpedaled, seeing my expression harden. He did care for you, in his way, but we couldn't deny our feelings forever. How noble of you both, I said coldly. And the money? My inheritance that Dad's been misusing? Jessica had the grace to look slightly ashamed. The company needed it. Dad made some bad investments. The market turned. It happens. So you all decided to defraud me rather than admit failure? It's not fraud. It's just creative financial management. I believe the SEC calls it embezzlement and trust fund misappropriation. Jessica paled. You wouldn't report your own father, wouldn't I? Sam, please, she begged. Just sign the papers today. We can work everything else out later. By everything else, you mean my marriage? My relationship with my sister who's been sleeping with my husband for years? That everything else? Jessica's expression hardened. You've always been like this. So rigid, so judgmental. Maybe if you weren't so cold and career-focused, Tyler wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. The masks were finally coming off. I smiled thinly. Thank you for your honesty. At last. Will you sign the papers or not? She demanded. I guess you'll find out this afternoon. After Jessica left, I called Uncle Richard to update him on this latest development. She's panicking, I told him. They all are. Good, he replied grimly. Panicked people make mistakes. I had just finished getting dressed for the family meeting when the doorbell rang. Expecting Uncle Richard, I was shocked to find 2 police officers on my doorstep. Mrs. Cooper? One asked formally. Yes? We're responding to a welfare check called in by your family. They're concerned about your mental state. Behind them, Jessica stood by her car, arms folded, watching the scene unfold with calculated concern. The 4th sabotage attempt was underway. I'm fine, I assured the officers. As you can see, your family reports you've been experiencing paranoid delusions, Mrs. Cooper. Making accusations, canceling events abruptly, exhibiting erratic behavior. I maintained my composure with effort. My family is currently attempting to defraud me of my inheritance. I have documentation and legal representation regarding the matter. Would you like to speak with my attorney? The officers exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this calm, rational response. One of them nodded. That might be helpful, ma'am. A quick call to Alicia resolved the situation. The officers, satisfied that I was of sound mind, departed with apologies for the intrusion. Jessica's expression, when I looked at her now retreating car, was thunderous. My phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Richard. They're getting desperate. Be careful. He wasn't wrong. By painting me as mentally unstable, my family had attempted to discredit me before I could expose them. The strategy was as transparent as it was cruel. When I arrived at my parents' house that afternoon, flanked by Uncle Richard, the tension was palpable. My father, mother, Jessica, and Tyler sat around the dining table, a stack of documents placed strategically at what was clearly meant to be my seat. Samantha. My father greeted me stiffly. Richard. He acknowledged his brother with barely concealed contempt. I hope you don't mind that I brought Uncle Richard, I said pleasantly. Given the complex nature of the inheritance matters we're discussing today. That won't be necessary, my father replied. This is a straightforward transfer of assets. Family, business. And Richard is family, I countered, taking my seat but carefully moving the documents away without touching them. My father's jaw tightened, but he controlled his reaction. Fine. Let's get started then. What followed was a masterclass in manipulation. My father presented the refinancing deal as a simple formality, a routine update to my grandmother's trust now that I'd turned 30. The documents, he assured me, would protect the family's assets while providing me with a generous monthly stipend. Tyler kept squeezing my hand supportively, while Jessica maintained a concerned sister facade, occasionally offering comments like, "It's really for the best, Sam," and "Dad knows what he's doing." I listened attentively, asked clarifying questions, and nodded at all the right moments. I could see them collectively relaxing as they believed their plan was working. Well, I said finally, this all sounds reasonable enough, but I'll need my attorney to review the documents before I sign anything. The room went deadly still. Attorney? My father repeated. That's completely unnecessary. These are standard legal documents. Then you won't mind if my attorney reviews them, I replied smoothly. Standard procedure, as you said. Samantha. My mother interjected, her voice honeyed with false concern. We're worried about you. This paranoia, these accusations, it's not like you. Perhaps you should consider speaking with Dr. Matthews again. Dr. Matthews, the family therapist who had always sided with my parents during childhood conflicts. Actually, Uncle Richard spoke up. Samantha has been seeing a different therapist, one who specializes in family betrayal trauma. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Sam, baby, we're all just trying to help. These papers need to be signed today for the deal to go through. What's the rush? I asked innocently. I just turned 30 yesterday. Surely a few days won't matter. My father's facade finally cracked. The refinancing deadline is tomorrow morning. We need your signature now. Or what happens? He glared at me. Or the bank calls in existing loans. The company faces bankruptcy. Everything your grandfather and I built crumbles. Is that what you want? What I want, I said calmly, is the truth. About my inheritance. About the company's finances. About Tyler and Jessica's relationship. About all of it. Silence descended again, heavier this time. You've always been difficult, my father said finally. Always questioning. Never trusting the family's judgment. With good reason, it seems. Jessica suddenly stood up. Just tell her, Dad. She already knows most of it anyway. My father's face reddened dangerously. Sit down, Jessica. No, she exclaimed. I'm tired of lying. Sam, yes, the company's in trouble. Dad made some risky investments that didn't pay off. Yes, we've been using your trust fund to keep things afloat. And yes, Tyler and I have been involved. But it's not some grand conspiracy. It's just life being messy and complicated. I looked at each of their faces, my father's anger, my mother's frozen smile, Jessica's defiance, Tyler's calculation. And the police welfare check today? I asked. The attempts to paint me as mentally unstable? Was that just life being messy too? My mother at least had the grace to look ashamed. You left us no choice, my father insisted. You were threatening the family's stability, our reputation. I stood up slowly, gathering my purse. I won't be signing anything today. My attorney will be in touch regarding both the trust fund situation and the false police report. You ungrateful, my father began, rising from his chair. Richard, my mother cautioned, placing a restraining hand on his arm. Tyler made one last attempt. Sam, please. Think about what you're doing. I turned to him, finally allowing my contempt to show. I know exactly what I'm doing. For the first time in years, I'm seeing all of you clearly. As Uncle Richard and I walked to the door, Jessica called out, Sam, wait! I paused, looking back at my sister. I'm sorry, she said. And for a moment, just a moment, I thought I glimpsed genuine remorse in her eyes. Not for loving Tyler, but for how we went about it. I nodded once, acknowledging her words without accepting the apology, and left the house that had never truly felt like home. In the car, Uncle Richard squeezed my hand. You did good, kiddo, really good. It's not over, I replied, staring out the window as my childhood home receded in the distance. They'll retaliate. Let them try, he said firmly. We're ready. Number. Part 8. Rock Bottom. The retaliation came swiftly and from all directions. Monday morning, I arrived at work to find my boss, Martin, waiting uncomfortably by my office door. Samantha, he began awkwardly. Can we talk in the conference room? Inside, the company HR director sat with a sympathetic expression that immediately set off alarm bells. We've received some concerning information, Martin said, not quite meeting my eyes. From several sources. What sources? I asked. Though I already knew. That's confidential, the HR director interjected smoothly. But the allegations are serious enough that we need to place you on administrative leave pending investigation. What allegations? Martin cleared his throat. Inappropriate use of company resources, potential conflicts of interest, erratic behavior affecting client relationships. All vague enough to sound concerning, all difficult to immediately disprove. My father contacted you, didn't he? I said flatly. Martin's expression confirmed it before his half-hearted denial. Multiple concerned parties have reached out. I was escorted to my desk to collect personal items, then out of the building like a criminal. Employees whispered behind hands as I passed. My professional reputation built over years of dedicated work dismantled in minutes. When I arrived home, another shock awaited. An eviction notice taped to my front door. According to the document, Tyler had provided evidence that the house was purchased primarily with his funds, that I had agreed to relinquish claim to the property in a verbal agreement, and that I had abandoned the residence. All lies, of course. But convincing lies, backed by forged documents bearing what appeared to be my signature. Inside, the locks had already been changed. I called Alicia immediately. "They're moving faster than we anticipated." "This is good," she assured me, though her voice betrayed concern. "They're getting sloppy, making legally actionable moves out of desperation." "Tell that to me when I'm not locked out of my own house," I replied, fighting back tears of frustration. "Uncle Richard insisted I stay with him while we fought the eviction. They're trying to destabilize you," he explained. "Make you desperate enough to sign their papers just to get your life back." The next blow came that afternoon, when I attempted to withdraw cash from an ATM. Card declined. I tried another account. Same result. Online banking confirmed my worst fears. All my accounts had been frozen, with alerts citing suspicious activity and pending fraud investigation. "Tyler," I said grimly to Uncle Richard when I returned to his loft. "He's reported fraudulent activity on our joint accounts, which has triggered freezes on my personal accounts too." "Exactly as we predicted," he reminded me gently. "That's why we moved emergency funds to the separate account in my name last week." He was right, of course. We had anticipated most of these moves and taken precautions. But the emotional impact of watching my life systematically dismantled was still overwhelming. "I need some air," I told Uncle Richard, grabbing my jacket. Walking through the Boston Public Garden usually calmed me. But that day, even this simple pleasure was tainted. My phone buzzed continuously with messages from extended family members expressing concern about my mental health, colleagues awkwardly distancing themselves, and acquaintances canceling plans. The character assassination campaign was in full swing. Returning to Uncle Richard's building, I spotted a familiar car parked across the street, my father's black Mercedes. As I approached the entrance, my mother emerged from the lobby, her expression a mixture of determination and discomfort. "Samantha," she called. "Please, just give me 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I agreed to talk in a nearby cafe. "This has gone too far," she began once we were seated. "Your father never intended things to escalate this way." "Really?" "Because the coordinated destruction of my career, finances, and reputation seems pretty intentional." She flinched. "He's protecting the family business." "By destroying his daughter?" "You gave him no choice," she countered, though without conviction. "The refinancing fell through. The company is facing bankruptcy. Your father's health is suffering from the stress." "And that's my fault? You could fix this," she said, leaning forward earnestly. "Sign the papers. And all this unpleasantness stops immediately. Your job back. House returned. Accounts unfrozen. And my husband, who's sleeping with my sister. Do I get him back too?" I asked bitterly. My mother had the grace to look ashamed. "That situation is unfortunate. But families weather storms, Samantha. We rebuild. We don't air our dirty laundry in public or pursue legal vendettas against each other. This isn't a situation, Mother. It's betrayal, on every level." "Please," she said, reaching for my hand. "Your father had a minor cardiac episode yesterday. The doctor says his heart can't take much more stress." That gave me pause. "He had a heart attack?" "Just chest pain," she clarified. "But the doctor is concerned." I withdrew my hand. "I'm sorry to hear that. But emotional manipulation won't work anymore." "It's not manipulation, it's reality," she insisted. "This path you're on, it ends with destruction for everyone. The family name dragged through courts and newspapers. The business bankrupt. Your father possibly in jail. Is that justice to you?" "Perhaps it is," I said quietly. "Actions have consequences." She stared at me as if seeing a stranger. "You've changed." Yes, I agreed, I have. That night, unable to sleep on Uncle Richard's uncomfortable sofa bed, I scrolled through social media to find that an old college photo of me had resurfaced and was circulating among mutual friends. In it, I appeared intoxicated at a party. The caption, shared by an account I didn't recognize, "The real Samantha Cooper. Unstable since college. Family trying to help for years. Number. Pray for Sam." It was the final indignity. Using my past against me, painting me as the villain in my own trauma story. I closed the app and stared at the ceiling, tears streaming silently down my face. For the first time since discovering Tyler and Jessica's betrayal, I allowed myself to truly feel the devastation. Not just anger or determination, but raw grief for the life I'd believed was real. The husband I'd loved, the sister I'd trusted, the parents who should have protected me, all gone. All lies. Uncle Richard found me the next morning, still awake, staring blankly at the wall. "Samantha?" he said gently. "You haven't slept." "I can't fight anymore," I whispered, my voice hollow with exhaustion. "They've taken everything." He sat beside me, his weathered hand covering mine. "Not everything. Never everything. My job, my house, my money, my reputation. What's left?" "Your integrity," he said firmly. "Your truth. And me. You still have me." I looked at him through swollen eyes. "Why are you helping me? You're risking your relationship with your brother, your connection to the family." Uncle Richard's expression hardened. That family stopped being family when they decided to sacrifice you to save themselves. "And Richard," he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully, "your father and I have been at odds since long before you were born. This is just the final chapter of a very old story." His phone rang, interrupting the moment. He glanced at the screen. "It's Diana." Diana Reynolds, the private investigator he'd hired the previous week. I'd almost forgotten about her with everything else happening. Uncle Richard put the call on speaker. "Diana, you're with Samantha too. Any updates?" "Several," she replied, her voice crisp and professional, "and all significant. First, I've confirmed that Cooper Development is under preliminary investigation by the SEC for accounting irregularities. They don't know it yet, but the feds are already looking into them." A small spark of hope ignited in my chest. "Second," Diana continued, "I've located your grandmother's original will and trust documents. The versions your father has been using are definitely altered. The originals are in a bank vault in Beacon Hill, not the family attorney's office." "Can we access them?" I asked. "Already working on it," she assured me. "And third, this is potentially the most damaging. I've identified 5 other investors who believe they've been defrauded by Cooper Development. They're willing to share documentation and potentially join forces in legal action." Uncle Richard squeezed my hand. "You hear that, Samantha? The tide is turning." For the first time in days, I felt something other than despair. Not exactly hope, but perhaps its prerequisite. The belief that justice was possible. "There's one more thing," Diana added. "Tyler Cooper has been seen meeting with known associates of competitor development companies. He may be shopping information about Cooper Development's vulnerabilities." "Rats leaving the sinking ship," Uncle Richard commented darkly. After the call ended, I showered and changed into clean clothes for the first time in 2 days. As I toweled my hair dry, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Eyes hollow with exhaustion, skin pale, but something had changed in my expression. A hardness that hadn't been there before. A determination. "Rock bottom," I said to my reflection. "The only way now is up." Uncle Richard was waiting with coffee and a plan. "Diana's information changes everything," he said. "We're no longer playing defense. It's time to take control of the narrative." "How?" "By doing exactly what they fear most, going public with the truth." I hesitated. "The family name? The scandal? Is that really still your concern?" he asked gently. "After everything they've done?" He was right. My loyalty to the Cooper name had been thoroughly misplaced. It was time to fight fire with fire. "What's our next move?" I asked, straightening my shoulders. Uncle Richard smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in days. "We're going to crash a party." The Cooper Development Annual Investor Gala was the company's most prestigious event, a carefully choreographed display of success and stability designed to reassure existing investors and attract new ones. This year, with the company teetering on the edge of financial ruin, the performance would be more crucial than ever, and I was about to derail it completely. "Are you sure about this?" Alicia asked during our final strategy session. "Once we initiate this sequence of events, there's no turning back." I looked around Uncle Richard's dining table, now converted into a war room. Diana the PI, Ryan the IT specialist, Alicia the attorney, and Uncle Richard my unlikely but fiercely loyal support system. "I'm sure," I said firmly. They crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. The plan was comprehensive, targeting every aspect of my family's betrayal simultaneously. Legal, financial, personal, no stone would be left unturned, no deception unexposed. Step 1 began with an anonymous whistleblower report to the SEC, detailing the accounting irregularities Diana had uncovered. The report, meticulously documented with evidence Ryan had helped compile, would trigger a formal investigation impossible to brush aside. Step 2 involved reaching out to the other defrauded investors Diana had identified. Together, we would file a class action lawsuit against Cooper Development, specifically naming my father and Tyler as defendants. Step 3 was the most personally painful. Filing for divorce from Tyler on grounds of adultery and financial fraud, with Jessica named explicitly in the court documents. The filing would become public record, impossible to hide from curious society columnists. But step 4, the culmination of our plan, was the most audacious. I would attend the investor gala, uninvited, with evidence in hand. "They'll try to keep you out," Diana warned. "Security will be instructed to watch for you." "That's where I come in," Uncle Richard said with a grim smile. "My invitation was never rescinded. I've simply never attended before." The night of the gala arrived with perfect dramatic timing, exactly 2 weeks after the video that had changed everything. I prepared in Uncle Richard's guest bathroom, applying makeup with careful precision to cover the signs of stress and sleepless nights. The dress I wore, a striking red that stood out among the sea of conservative black and navy typical at these events, had been purchased with the emergency funds Uncle Richard had helped me secure. My grandmother's diamond pendant, the one piece of family jewelry I'd had the foresight to remove from the house before being locked out, completed the look. "Ready to make an entrance?" Uncle Richard asked as our taxi approached the Four Seasons Hotel. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied. Checking my clutch once more for the USB drive containing all our evidence, our insurance policy if things went sideways. The ballroom was exactly as I remembered from previous years: crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, string quartet playing unobtrusively in the corner. Cooper Development spared no expense on appearances, even when teetering on bankruptcy. Uncle Richard and I separated at the entrance, executing our plan. He would engage my father in conversation on the opposite side of the room, ensuring a clear path for me to approach the stage during my father's traditional welcome speech. I spotted Tyler immediately, standing near the bar with Jessica beside him. They weren't being overtly affectionate, but their body language betrayed their intimacy, leaning slightly toward each other, sharing the occasional knowing glance. My mother circulated among guests, her social smile firmly in place despite the strain evident in her eyes. None of them had seen me yet. I kept to the periphery, accepting a champagne flute from a passing waiter and nodding politely to confused acquaintances who clearly hadn't expected to see me. At precisely 8:30, my father approached the podium for his annual address. The room quieted as he tapped the microphone. "Distinguished guests, valued investors, dear friends," he began, his charisma on full display. "Welcome to the 35th Annual Cooper Development Gala." Applause filled the room. I began making my way forward, keeping to the shadows. "This past year has presented challenges and opportunities alike," my father continued. "But Cooper Development remains stronger than ever, with exciting new projects on the horizon." I reached the edge of the stage just as he prepared to introduce the company's supposed financial achievements. His eyes widened fractionally as he spotted me, but he maintained his composure, smoothly continuing his speech. I ascended the 3 steps to the stage, ignoring the murmurs spreading through the crowd. My father faltered mid-sentence as I approached the podium. "Samantha," he hissed under his breath, "what do you think you're doing?" "Telling the truth," I replied calmly, then turned to face the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, please forgive the interruption. I'm Samantha Cooper, Richard's daughter and the rightful beneficiary of the Eleanor Cooper Trust, which has been systematically defrauded by the current management of Cooper Development." Gasps rippled through the audience. My father grabbed my arm, trying to steer me away from the microphone, but I stood firm. "Security," he called. "Please escort my daughter out." She's been experiencing some mental health challenges recently. Actually, I continued, raising my voice slightly, I've never been clearer about anything in my life, including the fact that this company is currently under SEC investigation for financial irregularities and fraud. The murmurs grew louder. Investors exchanged concerned glances. I spotted Tyler pushing through the crowd toward the stage, his expression thunderous. Copies of the evidence have been provided to federal investigators, I announced, including documentation of misappropriated trust funds, falsified accounting records, and unauthorized use of investor capital. My father abandoned pretense, trying physically to remove me from the podium. Uncle Richard appeared beside him, placing a restraining hand on his shoulder. "Richard," he said quietly, "I wouldn't make a scene if I were you. Not with the Boston Financial Journal reporter by the punch bowl." My father froze, his face ashen. "You wouldn't do this to your own family," he whispered. "You already did it to yours," Uncle Richard replied. I turned back to the increasingly restless crowd. "For those with concerns about your investments, I've established a communication channel for affected parties." I held up business cards with contact information for Alicia's law firm. "My attorneys are prepared to discuss options for recovering your funds." Tyler had reached the stage by now, attempting to play the concerned husband. "Sam, honey, let's talk privately about this. You're not well." "Actually, I'm perfectly well," I replied loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Well enough to file for divorce this morning on grounds of adultery, specifically, your ongoing relationship with my sister Jessica." If the financial allegations had caused a stir, this personal revelation created an absolute sensation. All pretense of polite disinterest vanished, as the crowd openly stared and whispered. Jessica, still by the bar, looked as though she might faint. "Copies of the divorce filing are also available," I continued relentlessly, "including evidence of financial fraud perpetrated by my soon-to-be ex-husband in collusion with Cooper Development leadership." Security finally reached the stage, two uncomfortable-looking men in dark suits, clearly unsure about physically removing the owner's daughter from the podium. "It's all right," I told them with a calm smile. "I've said what I came to say." I turned to address the crowd one final time. "Thank you for your attention. I suggest reviewing your investment portfolios first thing tomorrow morning." I descended the stage with as much dignity as I could muster, leaving chaos in my wake. Investors surrounded my father, demanding explanations. Tyler stood frozen, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. Jessica had disappeared entirely. Uncle Richard met me at the exit, a protective arm around my shoulders. "You did it, kiddo," he said quietly. Masterfully. Outside, Diana waited in a car, engine running. "How did it go?" she asked as we slid into the back seat. "Exactly as planned," I replied, the adrenaline finally beginning to ebb, leaving me shaky but triumphant. And now we wait. We didn't have to wait long. By morning, the story had leaked to financial news outlets. By afternoon, Cooper Development stock had plummeted. My father had been hospitalized after collapsing during an emergency board meeting, the heart attack real this time, though not life-threatening. The SEC announced a formal investigation. Investors filed lawsuits. Tyler's attempt to flee to the Cayman Islands was thwarted when his accounts were frozen as part of the divorce proceedings. And most satisfyingly, my house keys and access to my personal accounts were mysteriously returned via courier with a terse note from my mother. "This has gone too far. I'm sorry." When I finally returned to my home, empty now of Tyler's belongings, which he'd hurriedly removed before everything collapsed, I stood in the silent foyer, absorbing the enormity of what had transpired. My phone rang. It was Jessica. "I just wanted you to know," she said without preamble. "Tyler tried to sell me out to the investigators. Claimed I manipulated him into the financial fraud. That I seduced him as part of a plan. And did you?" I asked, genuinely curious. She laughed bitterly. "No, I was just stupid and selfish. We both were." "Why are you telling me this?" A pause. "Because you deserve to know who he really is. And because," her voice cracked slightly, "because despite everything, you're still my sister." "Biology doesn't make family," I replied. "Trust does. Loyalty does." "I know." she whispered. I know that now. After we hung up, I walked through each room of my house, reclaiming the space that had almost been stolen from me. In the master bedroom, I opened windows to clear the lingering scent of Tyler's cologne. In the office, I removed the framed family photos that now seemed like monuments to deception. Exhausted but resolved, I finally allowed myself to truly process the victory. My family's betrayal had cost me dearly, relationships destroyed, innocence lost, trust shattered. But I had survived. More than survived. I had fought back and won. The revenge had been comprehensive, devastating, and absolutely necessary. Not just for justice, but for my own healing. For the first time since receiving that anonymous video, I felt something unexpected stirring in my chest. Hope. 6 months after the gala that changed everything, I sat across from my therapist, Dr. Martinez, reflecting on the incredible journey. You've made remarkable progress, Samantha, she observed, reviewing her notes. When you first came to me, you were in crisis mode, operating purely on survival instincts. I nodded, remembering those dark days immediately following the exposure. I wasn't sleeping, barely eating, running entirely on adrenaline and rage. And now? I considered the question carefully. Now I feel grounded, still wounded, but healing. The legal aftermath had unfolded largely as we'd anticipated. Cooper Development had declared bankruptcy, its assets sold to cover debts and legal settlements. My father had avoided criminal charges only by agreeing to a substantial SEC fine and a lifetime ban from serving as an officer in any publicly traded company. My mother had filed for divorce, unwilling to face financial ruin alongside him. Tyler hadn't been so fortunate. His attempts to hide assets during our divorce proceedings had triggered criminal charges for financial fraud and perjury. He was currently awaiting trial, having been denied bail after a failed attempt to flee the country. Have you had any contact with your sister? Dr. Martinez asked. Jessica sends an email every few weeks, I replied. Mostly updates about her life in Chicago. She's trying to start over, new city, new job, new identity separate from the Cooper name. And how do you feel about that? I sighed. Conflicted. Part of me respects her attempt to rebuild. Another part wonders if she's just running from consequences. Forgiveness is a process, Dr. Martinez reminded me gently. It happens on your timeline, not anyone else's. I'm not sure I'll ever fully forgive her, I admitted. But I'm learning to let go of the anger. It was consuming too much of my energy. That had been the hardest lesson of the past 6 months, learning that holding on to rage, however justified, was ultimately self-destructive. The desire for vengeance had fueled me through the darkest days, but sustained anger was exhausting. Professionally, I'd landed on my feet better than expected. My former company's CEO had called personally to apologize for the hasty administrative leave, once the truth about my family's manipulations became public. I'd declined their offer to return, instead accepting a position with a rival firm in Chicago, a fresh start in a new city where the Cooper name carried less weight. And your relationship with your uncle? Dr. Martinez asked. Stronger than ever, I replied with a genuine smile. He's become the father figure I always needed. We talk weekly. He's actually helping me house hunt in Chicago next month. Uncle Richard had been my rock throughout the entire ordeal. When everyone else had abandoned me, he had remained steadfast. Our shared experience had forged a bond that transcended typical uncle-niece relationships. You mentioned reconnecting with Megan in our last session. Dr. Martinez prompted. Yes, I acknowledged. That's been complicated. She reached out after the SEC investigation became public, full of apologies for choosing the job with my father over our friendship. And did you accept her apology? Conditionally, I said carefully. We're rebuilding slowly. Trust once broken isn't easily restored. Megan had ultimately never started the position with Cooper Development, the offer having evaporated with the company's collapse. Her betrayal had hurt deeply, but unlike my family's actions, it hadn't been malicious, just human weakness and poor judgment. I was learning to distinguish between unforgivable betrayal and forgivable mistakes. After finishing my therapy session, I walked through Boston Common one last time, savoring the familiar scenery before my upcoming move. My phone buzzed with a text from Diana Reynolds, the PI who had become an unexpected friend through the ordeal. Drinks tonight to celebrate your last week in Boston? My brother Michael wants to finally meet the famous Samantha Cooper. I smiled, typing a quick acceptance. Diana's support had extended far beyond her professional services, offering friendship when I'd needed it most. And though I'd never admit it to Diana, her mention of her brother intrigued me. After months of emotional healing, I was finally open to the possibility of new connections. Back at my house now sold, awaiting closing, I continued packing boxes for the move. Each item considered, each memory evaluated. Keep, discard, donate. The process was therapeutic, a physical manifestation of my emotional journey. In the back of my closet, I found the midnight blue dress I'd bought for my canceled birthday party. I held it up, remembering the woman who had purchased it, trusting, naive, desperate for family approval. A different person entirely from the woman I had become. After a moment's consideration, I placed it in the donation pile. New life. New wardrobe. New beginning. That evening, as I prepared to meet Diana and her brother, my mother called a rare occurrence since the family implosion. "Samantha," she began hesitantly, "I heard you're moving to Chicago next week." "News travels fast," I replied, neither confirming nor denying. "I've been seeing a therapist," she continued, surprising me. "Working through my role in what happened. My enablement of your father's behavior all these years." "That's good," I said cautiously. "I know I have no right to ask for anything," she said, voice quavering slightly. "But I wonder if we might have coffee before you leave Boston. Just to talk." 6 months ago, I would have refused outright. 3 months ago, I would have answered with biting sarcasm. Now, I found myself considering the request. "I can't promise forgiveness," I said finally. "I'm not asking for that," she replied quickly. "Just a conversation. A beginning, perhaps." "I'll think about it," I conceded. "That's the best I can offer right now." After we hung up, I finished getting ready, pushing thoughts of family reconciliation aside for the moment. Tonight was about celebration, not rumination. The bar Diana had chosen was trendy but comfortable, with muted lighting and private booths. She waved from across the room, a tall, dark-haired man beside her, Michael, presumably. "The woman of the hour," Diana exclaimed as I approached. "Chicago's about to gain its most formidable marketing executive." "Hardly," I laughed, embracing her before turning to her brother. "You must be Michael." He smiled, extending his hand. "The famous Samantha Cooper. Diana's told me all about your impressive takedown of corporate corruption." "She exaggerates," I demurred, though pleased by the description. "Actually," I understated, Diana countered. "I left out the part where you maintained perfect composure while delivering the killing blow at the gala." We settled into conversation easily, ordering drinks and appetizers. Michael, I learned, was a photojournalist recently returned from assignment in Southeast Asia. His stories were fascinating, his perspective refreshing. For the first time in months, I found myself genuinely engaged with someone new, unconnected to my past drama. "So, 30th birthday," Diana said as we ordered a second round. "We never properly celebrated, did we?" "True," I acknowledged. Though, in fairness, it turned out to be quite memorable, if not in the intended way. "Well, it's never too late," Michael suggested. "New city, new decade, new life. Sounds celebration-worthy to me." The idea took root immediately. My birthday once so thoroughly ruined by betrayal, reclaimed and redefined. Not with an elaborate party at a prestigious venue, but with new friends who appreciated me for exactly who I was. "I think you're right," I agreed, raising my glass. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings," they echoed. Later that night, back in my half-packed house, I found myself reflecting on the extraordinary journey of the past 6 months. From the devastating moment of discovery to the triumphant execution of justice to this quiet evening of genuine connection, the path had been painful beyond imagination. I'd lost my husband, my sister, my parents, my family name, everything that had once defined me. Yet somehow, through that crucible of loss, I'd found something far more valuable. My own strength, my true voice, my authentic self. I opened my laptop and began typing a journal entry that had become a nightly ritual in my healing process. Today I realized something profound. Canceling my birthday party wasn't just a reaction to betrayal, it was the first decisive step toward reclaiming my life. In that moment of shock and pain, some deeper part of me recognized that the life I'd been living was built on illusions. The journey since has been excruciating but necessary. I've learned that family is defined by actions, not blood. That strength often emerges only when everything else is stripped away. That healing isn't linear, it's messy and contradictory, and sometimes achingly slow. But most importantly, I've learned that endings, however painful, create space for new beginnings. And as I prepare to leave Boston behind, I'm no longer mourning what was lost. Instead, I'm embracing what's been found. My resilience, my worth, and the freedom to create a life that's authentically mine. The video that arrived that day didn't just reveal betrayal, it offered liberation. And for that unexpected gift, I am finally, genuinely grateful. I've shared my story now, and I hope it's helped some of you who might be going through similar betrayals or difficult times. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to completely restart your life? How did you find the strength to move forward? Remember to like this video if my story resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that there's always hope after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the worst moments of our lives become the foundation for our greatest transformations.